Hips to shoulder separation, it is not how your guru or the data, scientific data appears or portrays it to be, right? It is not. The more separation that you can get, the higher velocities you can quote unquote produce. There's always a lot more layers that go into that to make sure that whatever separation you're getting can actually be transferable over on into the mount. And that's why for a lot of athletes that just focus up on just doing roll-ins and getting as much separation as possible, oftentimes they end up suffering from lower back injuries, or they end up getting so much separation that they don't even know where their body's at in space. So within this video, we're going to discuss how to avoid those things and what is the adequate amount of separation that you can get for yourself, and how to make sure that the separation can actually transfer over into velocity that you can use. Now, without further ado, my name is Anthony Rodriguez. I am the coach and founder of Versatile Athletics. We've trained athletes across every single level, from high school, junior college, and the Division I, as well as professional level, help them increase their velocity while helping them understand how their bodies naturally prefer to move. Now, with that said, let's get right back into the video. By this point, I mean, with as many athletes as I've already trained, I could tell you that you probably have 3 to 4 separational drills within the drill set that you go through as you're warming up. And the problem with these is you can't just drill your way into more separation. Let's just speak about just the motor pattern and aspect of things, right? There needs to be a sequential pattern where, like, when you're creating separation or just getting your body to mold into that separational point, you need to reverse engineer that point towards where everything starts. Obviously, because you're not going to pitch from a separational position. All we're doing here is just teaching the body, hey, this is where you need to be. This is where you need to be. This is where you need to fire out of. Yeah, well, what happens before that? And then what happens after that? Those are different points that we need to train. And it's why it's important for athletes to backwards chain, right? Whatever they're trying to get, backwards chain, because it's the best way that your body learns emotion. So essentially is doing things backwards from where things end to like where things begin. And essentially is just filling out the front gap and then the end gap. For example, if you're getting all these separational movements, the roll-ins, pivot pickoffs, whatever, we want to make sure that we're also targeting the stride phase, and then we're also targeting the drift phase, and then just the regular motion from the leg lift down into the rest of the delivery, the release and the front leg aspect down in front, right? So what that's going to do is that it's going to provide a bridge towards where else, or like where we're trying to take this towards to. For example, what I mean by that, if you're doing roll-ins, right, what I would do, like, to begin with, right, because we're going to reverse engineer everything. Let's just say you're trying to create more separation, which is the topic of this video, right? Let's say we start off with the pivot pickoffs, right? We're going into the pivot pickoffs, really trying to maximize the separational aspect of it. Then we go into a roll-in. After the roll-in, honestly, that's already 2 separational exercises. I'm probably not going to throw in a 3rd or 4th and a 5th one, unless like you drastically need to focus up on that. So after that rolling phase, right, you're still reverse engineering what comes before the separation. The stride phase comes before the separation. So my next drill would be something that focuses on that phase. Think of it like a rockers drill, just to keep everything simple. And within that rockers drill, I'm creating whatever feel I need to get into that separational position, not just continue working on separation, right? Then after that, I will still reverse it more towards something that looks like the whole complete picture. Let's just use a step back, where we're just stepping back, we're lifting down, and then going out into the throw. We're achieving separation, and then we're completing the throw, right? So in this phase, I literally just show you how you can reverse engineer your drills, not just doing more separation. We need to teach our body those transitional points. It's not just about separation. Now, number 2, athletes try to stretch their way into more separation. And while a lot of athletes do lack a lot of hip mobility, especially when nowadays with phones, electronics, like just prolonged periods of sitting, a lot of athletes' hips tend to be less mobile or more restricted, as well as their T-spine. And the thing is, even if we try to stretch our way into those positions, we're missing a very crucial point that's going to help that separation or stretching transfer into something that we can actually use. We cannot just stretch into it. We must activate those muscles that help maintain rotation or maintain separation, and then just assist the whole entire flow of separation. And not only that, but we must also then integrate the full entire motion of it. So for example, if I'm trying to create mobility so I can get into more separation, of course, let's just say for simplicity purposes, if I start doing some 90-90 hip switches, then I start to do some Brexu just to get some mobility within the T-spine, the hip area. Then I do some half knee and T-spine circles, right? Those are targeting all the muscles that we want. But after that, I'm gonna have to strengthen the muscles that were weak that aren't supporting that separation, which will more than likely be glutes and the obliques as well. So when it comes to strengthening those muscles, right, to keep it all simple still, I'm gonna do a single leg glute bridge. I can also go into doing a split stance, cable, up down chops, right? Those are all exercises that are strengthening out those muscles. Now we want to integrate the whole area, right? So we can be able to transfer that over to the mountain. The way that I will integrate those things is not just by strengthening, right? Because we already had the little activation part of strengthening. We want to integrate. And what we need to integrate is the posterior and the anterior oblique sling, which are muscles that our body connects so that the body entirely can create that stability part that we need within the throw. So posterior oblique sling contributes of muscles like the hamstring, the opposite glute, and the opposite lat. Muscles like the anterior oblique sling consist of muscles from like the pec, the oblique, and then the adductor, right? So essentially, once we're in this position, these muscles are working in some sort of fashion where one is activating, another one is relaxing, and then they switch role to be able to support that action. So we have to reteach the body how to use those muscles. It's not just about getting stronger. Now, number 3, we want to be able to teach the body to use the stretch shortening cycle. Stretch shortening cycle is when we have that movement inertia create that peak separation. Once you create that peak separation, just absolutely fire from there. The way that we can train those movements is by actually training plyometrics. So involving a lot more medicine ball throwing. So you can get creative with these, honestly. You can do turn and burns, medicine ball throws. You can do lateral step medicine ball throws as well. Just regular shuffle medicine ball throws. Like you can really just get creative with those. Essentially what we're doing is just teaching our body plyometrically to store energy, right? Stretch our muscles and then just contract all that energy and produce power. And then lastly, obviously we want to gauge what the sweet spot is of separation that we need to get. And unfortunately, like there is no best way to do it than just get an assess for it. When it comes to us, like we help our athletes understand the natural movement preferences, and their preferences essentially tell us with the combination of like their anatomical restriction about how much hip to shoulder separation they can actually support. To be fair with you, for something that you can actually do to kind of gauge a little bit of understanding is place yourself in assuming that you have the adequate range of motion, right? Let's just say the range of motion strength is not an issue. Place yourself in a split stance position and literally kind of rotate the trunk. As you can see from me, I look very stable and relaxed in this position. You want to go towards a spot where you feel stable and relaxed, and it's kind of like a peak separation. You don't want to go super back here where you feel like the belly's pulling you through, like where the back leg wants to rotate. No, just be in a place where it's just like nice and easy. Whenever you start to overcompensate for more separation, you're going into the red zone. You just want to get into the spot where like it feels natural. It's not forced. That is more than likely the ideal separation that you should be looking for. Not verbatim, because the movement inertia is more than likely gonna help that muscle stretch back a little bit more and then fire out of that. But essentially, right, if this is my peak relaxed hip to shoulder separation, as I'm moving, I'm probably gonna be here. No way I'm gonna be all the way out here. That's kind of extreme, right? For just having movement inertia coming along. Unless I'm like doing a pull down, then that could potentially be a little bit different because I'm coming in with a lot more momentum. This is why just hips to shoulder separation doesn't always correlate towards the mound. It is a lot more than just getting separation. It is more about how stable can the hip stay at front foot strike? How stable can our front leg stay at front foot strike and avoid both the hip and the front leg to continue shifting? Because if you land here, right, and you're trying to fire from that place, but essentially everything is just rotating around, brother, you had no separation at all. Like at all. You're literally throwing everything up together. Hope this helps you guys. We help our athletes understand this by helping them understand their natural movement tendencies, and we build everything out for them. If you want to learn more about it, see how we can help you next, feel free to book in a call with us down below in the description, and I'll see you guys on the next one.